In 2008, the world's most valuable company was American. Today, still American. In fact, of the top 10 most valuable companies on Earth right now, 9 are American and 1 is Saudi Arabian. Not a single European company makes the list. But here's the kicker. 30 years ago, Europe and the United States had roughly the same GDP per capita. Today, the average American is nearly 30% wealthier than the average European, and this gap is accelerating, not closing. What happened? How did a continent that gave us the Industrial Revolution, that pioneered railways, automobiles, and modern medicine, suddenly find itself in the economic slow lane? Let's start with the most obvious symptom: innovation, or rather, the lack of it. When was the last time you used a European tech product? Seriously, think about it. Your phone? Probably Apple or Samsung. Your computer? Windows or Mac OS. Your search engine? Google. Social media? Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok are all American or Chinese. Your cloud storage? Amazon, Google, Microsoft. Europe produces world-class engineers and scientists. Some of the best universities on the planet are in Europe. Yet, of the 500 fastest-growing tech companies globally, only about 50 are European. The US has over 300. Even China has more unicorn startups, private companies valued over $1 billion, than all of Europe combined. But here's where it gets really interesting. It's not that Europeans aren't innovative. They are. The problem is what happens to that innovation. Let me give you a real example. Spotify. Yes, it's Swedish, and yes, it's successful. But where did Spotify list its stock when it went public? New York. Where does it have major engineering offices? The United States. More commonly, this is what happens. A brilliant engineer in Berlin or Paris or Stockholm has an idea. They build a prototype. It shows promise. They then face a choice. Stay in Europe and navigate 27 different regulatory frameworks, fight for scraps of venture capital, and face a fragmented market where Germans prefer different apps than the French, who prefer different services than the Italians. Or they can move to Silicon Valley, get 10 times the funding, access a unified market of 330 million people, and if they succeed, truly scale globally. The brain drain is real. According to recent studies, Europe loses approximately 250,000 highly educated workers to other countries every year, with the United States being the primary destination. The artificial intelligence race tells an even grimmer story. In 2024, the United States developed 40 large foundational AI models, the sophisticated systems that power ChatGPT and similar technologies. China created 15. Europe? A pathetic 3. 3 AI models from an entire continent of nearly 500 million people. While America and China race ahead with innovation, Europe has become obsessed with regulation. The continent has unleashed a tsunami of rules: the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, the Digital Markets Act, the Digital Services Act, and the AI Act, each more complex and burdensome than the last. Consider Germany, Europe's largest economy. German businesses lose 146 billion euro annually just dealing with bureaucracy. Workers spend 22% of their time more than 1 day per week on administrative tasks rather than productive work. That's not business inefficiency, that's government-mandated economic suicide. The AI Act perfectly illustrates Europe's problem. While American and Chinese companies experiment rapidly with artificial intelligence, European firms must navigate a labyrinth of risk assessments, transparency mandates, and compliance requirements. Small AI developers lacking the legal and financial resources of tech giants simply cannot compete. The predictable result: European AI innovation is being strangled in its crib while competitors sprint ahead. Despite decades of integration efforts, European businesses still face a maze of conflicting national regulations, inconsistent rules, and persistent barriers when trying to operate across borders. Market integration for both goods and services is actually declining. German companies face different standards than French companies. Spanish businesses encounter regional regulations that differ from national rules. An Italian entrepreneur trying to expand to Poland navigates more bureaucracy than an American company operating in all 50 states. Russia's invasion of Ukraine and subsequent weaponization of energy supplies exposed Europe's Achilles heel. The continent is dangerously dependent on expensive imported energy. In 2024, EU natural gas wholesale prices were nearly 50 times higher than in the United States. Industrial electricity prices were roughly 2.5 times higher. European manufacturers now operate with an energy cost disadvantage that makes competing globally nearly impossible. Europe currently imports over 50% of its energy, a record high. For natural gas specifically, roughly 90% comes from outside the EU. After cutting off cheap Russian gas, Europe has been forced to import expensive liquefied natural gas from the United States and other sources. While Europe struggles with present challenges, a demographic catastrophe is already locked in for the future. The continent is aging faster than anywhere else. By 2050, 1 in 3 Europeans will be over 65 per UN projections. Birth rates? Abysmal. Italy's fertility rate is 1.24 children per woman, far below the 2.1 replacement level. This means shrinking workforces and ballooning pension costs. Spain's pension system is projected to run deficits of €100 billion annually by 2030. Europe's tragedy is that it's trapped between two economic superpowers pulling in opposite directions. China floods global markets with cheap manufactured goods, undercutting European producers. Chinese electric vehicle manufacturers produce cars at costs 30% lower than European competitors. Chinese solar panels, batteries, and advanced manufacturing dominate world markets. The EU's trade deficit with China has expanded by 20% since December 2024. Meanwhile, the US offers massive subsidies through programs like the Inflation Reduction Act that lure European companies across the Atlantic. American venture capital, lower energy costs, lighter regulation, and a unified market of 330 million consumers makes the US irresistible for businesses that might otherwise stay in Europe. European companies face an impossible choice: compete with Chinese manufacturers who receive unlimited government support and operate at lower costs, or relocate to America for better market access and business conditions. Either way, Europe loses. Europe's crisis is not inevitable. The continent still possesses enormous advantages: highly educated populations, strong institutions, rich cultural heritage, and the world's largest integrated market. Invest €800 billion annually in innovation and infrastructure, complete the true single market, reform regulations to encourage rather than stifle business, address the energy crisis through renewable development, integrate capital markets to mobilize European savings, and create conditions for startups to scale. The question isn't whether Europe knows what to do. The question is whether Europe has the political will to do it. So far, the answer appears to be no. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe.